On the last video, I made the threads on this 2-inch dowel, and in this one I said I would cut the nuts to work with it. Originally I thought that one good way would be to take a strip of wood that would fit in the thread here and try to bend it around there. Without even trying that, I know that that is actually the hardest way to do it. So I'm not going to do it in this video. Instead, I'm going to look at two other ways that are a lot easier to do and will also give more reliable results. I've got two pieces of wood here. These are pieces of 2x6 that I cut in half and cut down the size. I did that on a table saw, but all the rest of the operations that I'm going to do on this are going to be with hand tools to stay in that vein. I cut the threads with hand tools, and I'm going to cut the nut, at least the first one, out with hand tools as well. Okay, both pieces are done, and when they go together you can see a pretty good hole. It doesn't have to be perfect because there'll be more fine tuning after. The next step is to take the threads that I already cut. I really should cut this off because it's a bit longer than I need, but I haven't decided on the length yet, so I'll leave it long for now. And use that to mark out where I'm going to carve the threads into these pieces. Now, the last time I did this, I messed up and I cut one the right way and the other one the wrong way. It was actually exactly opposite to what it needed to be, and then I had to make another set. So try not to do that. You have to be careful when you're laying it out. What I'm going to do is put this back in the vise, and I really should have cleaned off my workbench before I did this. Yeah, I'm going to put it back in the vise, hold it where it looks like it would be right, and then I'm going to make marks on it. And then I'm going to mark an X in each location so that I'll know where to cut. Now that I have the places marked out where the threads need to be, I need to connect the lines that go across from one side to the other. I'm just doing this roughly freehand. Now comes the fun part, and it also does take a while. You really want to have a sharp chisel for this, for sure, and just work your way in. This is where I turn on the camera and I say, okay, I've got a lot of material cut away, and now I'll try it out. And I realized that I've done it again. I've actually cut the threads in the wrong direction. That's something you really have to pay attention to. What I was looking at the top here, so I cut them to match when they're actually supposed to be going the other direction. Wow, I've got to do this again. Rather than freehand, I'm going to use this caulking tube here to wedge in the space on an angle, and I've very carefully determined which angle these things should go on, and it's this way. So I just need to line up the caulking tube with my marks and draw a line around. You know what I'm going to do? I'm going to blame the camera for this mess up. I'm going to blame it on you guys, because I got to show you guys what I'm doing here. I lost my focus and messed up. Okay? You all right with that? Now it's just a matter of working at it with the chisel to fine tune the fit. Do a little bit of chiseling, check it, see how it fits. It should be a snug fit, but not too tight. You want to be looking at having at least half of the threads buried inside that half of the nut, so that the two sides, when they're done, will meet up fully. It's probably around this point where you're saying, well, how is this the easiest? This is probably not the easiest, but it's the most reliable. This will give you the results that will work every time if you take the time to do it right. The second way that I'm going to do will work also, but I can't say that it's 100% reliable because it uses another component that may fail over time. This is very unlikely to fail because what you have happening here is as you cut through here, you have long grain going into the threads. Now the threads themselves are all fairly short grain, but they do have a lot of surface area to ride in these slots. So the nut itself is probably stronger than the thread. The nut can be a lot less refined than the thread as well. It really doesn't have to be pretty. This actually here, if it's deep enough, will work. So, and besides, you don't really look inside the nut that much. You look at the threads usually. So I'm just gonna finish cutting this one out and I'll do the other one tomorrow. Well, it's actually a few days later. I got busy with doing stuff around my house and around the shop. I'll show what I did to the shop at the end of this video. I just cut the other side of the nut. I'm not sure which one it is right now. It might be this one, I guess. And they should fit together right on top of each other like that. Close up fully and still allow the thread to turn. And this is looking pretty good. As you can see, the inside of the nut, not very pretty, but it works, and that's the main thing. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to glue this together and then trim it down to the right size. So I got this done. As you can see, the threaded dowel turns freely inside the nut. I need to get it off of here and cut it shorter to make it a real nut size. I've got one problem with this threaded dowel, and that's there's a little bit of a haunch here, so I can't fully unscrew it. Also, I made this a left-hand thread. I really wasn't thinking about it when I did it, but it turned out left-hand. So I don't know what I'm going to do with this. Maybe nothing. Maybe this will just be another thing that hangs out here in my workshop and doesn't actually do anything. Now to get rid of this haunch, I'm just going to take my hacksaw and cut it off. I've got it clamped in my vise so that it can't move too much. Okay, I get it out of there, and now it should come out. A little bit tight there at the end because I guess that's not exactly the way it should be. And a little bit more, a little bit of sanding actually will straighten that out. As you can see, the nut is not pretty, but it does work. I'm going to cut it on the miter saw to a nut, shape, and I'll see if I actually use it. Well, a little bit rough with my cutting out, but the good thing about a nut like this is that, there are about 3 different size wrenches that will actually fit it. This is the smallest, medium, and large. Are you laughing at me? Wow. Now I gotta wait until the blood drains from my face so I look normal, or semi-normal. I've got the rest of the blank that I had to make the other nut here, and I've just cut them to length. And I'm going to clamp them together, and the clamp will also help me hold it while I drill a hole through with this 2 1/8 inch hole saw. All the way through. Beautiful. Now last time I did this, I put wax, I think it was, on the threads so that the filler wouldn't stick, and somebody suggested a cling wrap, I guess you could call it, a saran wrap, whatever it is. And I'm going to give it a try. I don't have great expectations for it because it's really tricky to get this started and then stretched in properly. It would work if I could get it stretched tight enough, but that's the thing. I get a lot of suggestions in the comments from people, and they make it sound like it's so simple, but reality is over here when you're trying to do it, and if I had a strip of it that I could wind in there, but you know what, I don't have time. I'm gonna wax the threads where the thing goes, and I'm gonna smear some vaseline on there as well, and that should stop the body filler that I'm gonna use to make the threads for this from sticking to the threaded rod. That much hardener in there. I like this stuff here. This is from Sherwin-Williams. Not an endorsement, but I can recommend this brand because when you mix it up and it sets, it doesn't gum up your sandpaper like Bondo, the real stuff does, which is really annoying because you got to throw away that first sheet of sandpaper to break through the surface. This stuff is tack free. It doesn't do that. Just pile it in there. Try not to get it on the things there on this part up here. Now, the last time I did this, I did it a little bit differently. I actually made the thing with a shoulder, and if you want to see that, I'll put a link to that video in the description. But the way that worked, it actually worked a lot better because it lined up the thing on the rod properly. In this instance, I'm not going to bother trying to line it up. I'm just going to let gravity do the work. The nut will be a little bit offset, but I don't see that as being a big deal. The other thing I got to do is get some wood glue on here so that the two sides of the nut are actually glued together. So I'm just going to quickly put that together to spread the glue. Then I'll put this in place. I got clamps right there so that it squishes up into the threads and here. And this is where I need to make sure that I'm on the area that I actually waxed. I gave it probably a bit more than an hour to dry, and we'll see how it wants to come off. I know the last time I did this, I had trouble unscrewing it, and I'm having the same problem here. It doesn't want to move. I think that I'm gonna have to clamp it really, really, really tight in the vise. And my goodness. Yeah, this might break it all together, but you know, I gotta get it undone. I might have to actually take it over to my steel vise to get a better grip. This vise is strong, but it doesn't. No, it's just turning the rod. Bring it over to the steel vise. It should be able to hold it without moving. This probably would have been avoided if I had have wrapped it with the saran wrap. That would have given it a little bit more space. I need some kind of big wrench or something. Wow, this is really on there. You know what? I'm going to say that there's only one way to make a nut for this, and it's the first way that I did it. So do that. Because this is not working this time. It's stuck too much. Okay, so instead of nuts two ways, it's not one way.